Hey people, Shaman Hawk here for Shamanic Lodge. So I get asked, is there something really important that you should think about before you get into shamanism? Is there something really important that you should think about or take into consideration before you make an appointment with a shaman? So yeah, there's a list of things, but I'm going to start off with what I think is the most important. And it's important in a lot of ways. It's trust. That's number one on the list, trust. But trust is really important for a few reasons because when people come to see me, first off, no one ever comes to see me when everything is going great, right? They come to see me when they've already been to the doctors. The doctors have told them really bad future. Um, their therapist couldn't help. Uh, psychologists, the prescription drugs. You know, usually when they come to see me, they're at the end of the line, which is a really strange thing in a way because they I wish if they came to see me earlier I could have done more or sooner, but at the same time when they do get to me in that state of mind, they're totally open and probably more open to anything I'd suggest than before, so that has a lot more of an effect. That's very helpful. And there's that fine line there between the trust and the desperation. You see, it makes the openness. So are they really trusting in me at that time, or are they just so open because of their situation that there's, it's parallels trust, but maybe not really completely trust. I hope that makes sense to you guys, because it's really important in that. Because if they don't really trust in me in the process, but they're really open just because they're desperate and they want to live or they want that situation to change, they can go back and close down a bit when things start to get a little bit better, and then therefore the rest of the process won't have the same effectiveness into it or same efficiency into it. So, um, but that's their choice. The next part of it is when you come to see the shaman for the appointment, and things really aren't that desperate situation, but you do want some life changes. You have to be able to trust enough that that shaman would do all the right things for you, because a lot of the things that the shaman might suggest are really unorthodox or just way out of the, you don't even see some of these things in shamanic movies. So at that point the person has to be totally open and trusting in that process and go along with the process, and allow themselves to be fully part of it. But if they're not trusting in that, then that won't happen, and then they won't get the same results. And then they say, well, it didn't work. Well, it's really important that you do that, that you do your part for it to work. And people have asked me, like, why is it that I can get such great results compared to a lot of other shamans or other shamanic practitioners and so on? So I think it is because I really try to explore the person in a way that they would not trust. Why is it? And then just kind of work with this in some logic, because a lot of people will have these operational patterns that will work in one scenario of their life, but will not work in the other. And, um, well, I could go into a bunch of those, but the point of it is if somebody operates in, let's say, the relationship world, and not even the relationship world, the dating world, because those are two definitely different realms. And why do they need to be different, right? So, um, but yet in the energetic field, they'll not use the same applications and freedom in this side over into another side. The point I really want to make is when I look at people and their trust issues, usually they have these different operating systems that they're working with that do not work together. and then they wonder why their life is so segmented and dysfunctional. You have to be able to have this operation system that works across the board, across your life, and applicable to all aspects of your life. Then your life will run smoothly. See, it's just, you just can't have so many different operational systems. Well, it's because of my work's this way, my life's this way. Well, yeah, that's okay. I understand why you have so many operational systems, but they don't work together, and you're admitting that yourself. So that's one of the things too. You'll see the trust issues are because of the incompatibility of operational systems in their life, and they just won't switch them over. And a lot of it's because of trauma. Yeah, they just want to be this area is very protected, this area is not. So if they're not completely open, then things don't work. They won't accept the procedures and they won't accept the methodology behind it. So when you want to go see this shaman, then you have to be able to, like, well, how do I know I can trust that person? Well, that's a great question. So I wouldn't trust in the looks, and we have a tendency to, I probably have the most cliche look of the shamans out here, right? The long white hair, the white face, and all that. Uh, like, oh, it looks like a shaman, sounds like a shaman. Okay, well, a lot of people do, and a lot of people, I think, look at themselves and hear their peers say, "Yeah, you look like you could dot dot dot." Oh, okay, I guess I'll go out and make money for it now. Uh, Yeah, and when I've gone to TV shows for interviews, I kind of like wear my what's called my uniform, white T-shirt, blue jeans, work boots, no animal body parts hanging from me or anything like that, and people will think I'm a delivery guy and tell me to go around the back, right? So it's more not don't go for the looks, go for the reputation, go for the efficiency, go for the stories that you've heard that say, yeah, this person, they're good. They might not look right, talk right or whatever, but they're good at what they do. If you're good at what you do and you've been out there a while, you'll have a good reputation that'll follow you. Um, there's always a scandal. It's usually always bad rumors, and you can find out anything bad on anybody, but then you have to ask if it's really true and find out the source. A lot of people don't handle rejection very well. And so I'll just say things, write things, and so on, and it just stays out there in public forever. So, and that's part of it. I'm actually suspicious of people that I don't hear bad things about. They're not really digging in there. They're playing safe all the time, because of marketability. And that makes me suspicious. And of course, then I'm not really fully trusting. Mm, oh, what else? You know, Too, when you're giving yourself into an apprenticeship, you're handing your life over to that shaman because you're saying that I don't like my life the way it is and I want it to change. And I'm like, okay, I can help you with that. Would you like to do full time shamanism, make that your job slash career, whatever? I can do that. There's plenty of work out there if you're good, and people are like, oh, you get paid for shamanism? Yeah, see, you notice I'm not sitting in the dark. It's because the electric gets paid. Notice I'm sitting in some place? Yeah, because it gets paid for. That's why. Look, in the old days, people would bring the shaman the firewood, the food, the whatever, and a house to live in or help him build the house or her build the house. But there was life takes resources. So, yeah, you get paid to do what you do. And the prices, there's a sliding scale that I use depending on what that person makes. So, and how they think about money. That's another important one. But yeah, you can do this as a full-time career. So when you're signing on to this apprenticeship, you're giving your life to that shaman so he or she can change it into what you say you want. And this is where we have to trust you're being really honest with us, even though we know you're not going to ever be fully honest with us. But when you're telling us what you want, whether as a client or a student, that's what we have to go on. So we have to trust you that you're going to be totally honest with us instead of us going through this exploratory thing, trying to figure out why the methodology doesn't really work. And then you go, Oh, yeah, well, I didn't tell you this part. Oh, well, thanks. We could have saved months or years on this. So we have to trust you like that. The other thing is, we have to trust you because we're going to give you power. We're going to show you some things to really gather up and manipulate and send off power. Power that can really, really change people's lives. So when people are asking me, like when I dealt with terminal patients, and it's like, well, how did you do that? Because the doctor said that they're going to be dead in a couple weeks. Well, yeah. And by the way, I don't have a 100% success rate because some people will live months, some people will live a few years, some still going. And I wish I knew the exact answer for why, but I don't yet. So people say, well, how can you do that? And realistically, it's about power. When you make a huge physiological shift in somebody, that's power. Is that my power, my personal power? Some percentage of it, yes. Is a bigger part? No. It's like, how did you build this big, beautiful house? Well, I use the resources around me, or that could be transported to me. The same thing with power. That power is either right there around you or it's someplace else and you can bring it to you. And we're going to teach you how to do that. But we have to completely trust that you're not going to abuse that power because I am responsible for what students do or the people I train to be able to be shamans. I'm responsible for that person's, how they use that power. And we do have kind of a court system per se, and people who abuse this can find them, they get counseled, and then they find themselves all of a sudden their life has changed, and they have too much to occupying their time to where they can't really devote into shamanism as much as they did, and that's how that works. And you have to trust that we're going to do that if you abuse your power. Okay? And that's because our prime concern is the benefits and the good of the community and the world as a whole. And yeah, that power can be used a few different ways, not just good, bad, but very manipulative power. And we have to trust that you're going to do that. And the person that comes to see us, they need to trust that we are going to use that power in their benefit, because it's like, it's real easy, and you hear about these scandals, that the person will abuse the power with that client saying, well, this is what you need to do because this will help you because you have this whatever story you need working on or whatever, and it fits their agenda. That happen. I've watched that happen a lot in my younger years. And so I have this two very, very different operating systems myself. I'm the one guy that's making fun of everything and everybody. No deity is safe from my sarcastic humor. And they look at me just party animal sometimes. But when it comes down to the work, there I'm 100% serious and I have no exceptions. I have very, very, when people work with me the first time from general life and into like shamanic life, where I really have to be on, they see that there's a very different person. And so I take this 100%, you know, and then I can go back to just being me, after that. And so people watch that, and that's my people. That's my methodology, and that's it. And you have to find your own methodology when you're becoming that shaman, and that's why the 2 years after the apprenticeship, we call it the journey. And that's when you're really fine tuning and tweaking your unique methodology, to make you the most efficient person you can be in your field. So, particularly with apprentices, the procedure will change because we're uncovering different layers of your blockages and your stories. So we go into this one part, and then all of a sudden you just kind of like get these thoughts and urges and stories that come through that really change you. And I want to explore this. And one of the things is like my dark side. It's like, okay, And another dark side phase. Sure, let's go for it. Let's go in there. And so the person dives into their dark side. Now, remember that we use these adjectives like dark or negative. Again, it's all perceptions devised and in the foundation of the culture in which you live. And so it may not, I don't see them as dark sides. That's just part of you, And I often tell people, you need to explore what you're going to call your dark side. You really need to be really familiar with that. And you need to feed your beast, the person that you call your demon, like you see those old cartoons that we had back in the 60s where the angel's sitting on here and the devil's sitting on here, whispering in your ear what you need to be doing. Well, that's two sides of you, all right? And you are in the negotiator in the middle. You're taking the input from these different sides to form who you're going to be and how you're going to act in these certain situations. So we dive into the dark side. And then once that's over, then the people are like, okay, I did that. Yeah, you did. You did it very well. And they have to be accepting of that. And we help you through that process. Because one of the things that, too, that apprentices in particular will look at, like, wow, I never had any clue how programmed I really was until they look back over a few years and go, when you say, here's the things that we can possibly get into the apprenticeship, and they're like, oh, fuck no, hell no. And then come to find out that they really enjoyed these things and really got into it. Some people are really good, what we would call dark side practitioners, that are good, the real shamanic warriors, the ones that can really cause massive destruction and chaos, which can be very, very helpful in getting people out of areas in war zones and natural disasters and so on. You know, you're fighting that fire with fire. How could it be like in disasters? You can have a very, very strong force that doesn't want this area to leave because it's afraid that it's going to take their resources and so on. Like, well, we can push that aside, you know. And then when the scared group gets a better vision of what's happening here, then they can turn around and become more helpful. So we're a lot of times we're just combating people's fears. Um, Sometimes you need to invoke someone's dark sides. That beast. Wake up that beast in someone to get them out of a dangerous situation. So humans are really complex. It's something my new translators will tell me, like, wow, I've never realized what people going through. And I've even had psychological students, that sit in on some of my appointments, or some people like are psychological students that were also translators, and just like, oh my God, I've never heard this in our practice or in school. Like, no, you won't, because people don't trust you in your profession. And that's another really interesting thing that I learned when becoming the new shaman in training is people innately, instinctively have a tendency to open up more to the shaman than they do the doctor or the therapist. With the doctor and the therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, all those, uh, they have a tendency to like skim off the top, give you the surface version. With us, they'll have a tendency to just unload, open the basement door, and just let you in and just kind of like tell you everything. Meeting number one. And and new shamans or other practitioners watching this are just like shocked. Well, they can do this because of the trust. Shamans keep people's secrets. We will go with people through these journeys, and they know no one will ever know they went through that journey. People know that they should always be able to trust that the shaman will never share those secrets, never share that anything. And people know that the priest, the therapist, all that, if they tell them this really dark side, they know there's a good chance that that person's going to go tell, some authorities. Now, people, the question comes up, yeah, but if you hear this person talking about some really evil stuff that they're doing or they did, what, you're not going to tell anybody? We will do the right thing, but we will have that person do the right thing with us. And I've had two of those, and again, I'm not going to share that person's story, those people's story, but they did pretty much right after that session, you know, turn themselves in. They did the right thing, and then I helped them through that, the process and everything that came after that. Um, and I saw their logic. I totally understand, could empath what they were doing, why they were doing it, and however, destructive harm was coming from it, and it had to be stopped. So, oh, I can't think of anything else really right now. As a recommendation for people, when you're looking, one of the reasons too, I do these YouTube videos, and so people can get a feel for me. They can watch the videos and figure out if I'm worth their trust, or if I referred somebody, could they trust me to refer that person? And because of sometimes, if you're not in the area, your optimum effect is person to person, face to face, at the same location, same moment, real time. And because I can really get a lot of feel from somebody right there within their auric field. The next best thing is, of course, the video chats. I can get to see some body movements and so on. But after that, then it's the phone call. After that, it's email and so on. And you can be efficient over the internet through this stuff because, well, don't look at this channel right now that you're watching as a linear path. Okay, it's more about time displacement. So I put these out there to get a feel for what I do and the people I work with, especially if I can do Zoom calls with other people that I completely trust, then people can see that trust relationship between the two of us. And right now with travel bans and all this is all we really have to work with at this time. But if you're thinking about working with someone, watch their videos. Are they always on in the performance? Are you looking at a really genuine person that's just really talking to you from the heart? How do you feel when you see them? And how are you checking yourself? How are you verifying that trust factor? All this is very important. If you don't trust yourself to make that decision whether you should trust that person, and you realize that's the first part of really healing that process. And one of the things I do too with my students, young shamans, I make the point of saying, by the way, on this particular issue, if I was the cult leader, I'd tell you this, because this is one of those turning points. You can go this way, you can go this way. If I'm the cult leader, I want you to take this turn over here, because I'm going to put you, as you increase into your proficiency in your power rating, that's going to serve my interest, collective interest, my agenda. But here, as the shamanic teacher, I'm putting you over here because I want you to nurture your power. Or I want you to be the most efficient. And people see it. I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. And so yeah. And that also verifies the trust that they're going to have in me and the situation. Trust is very, very important. All right, so think about it. I do have people sending me links to other shamans, practitioners, and go, what do you feel about this person? I could do that, and just say, okay, well, I'm looking and I'm hearing this, but I have to keep it real simple, meaning that I listen to the person's material. I like their logic. I've heard it before. Okay, are they repeating somebody else's stuff? You know, we're all still working with the old energy patterns that have been on the world for 14 billion years. So, but you have to ask for something unique. And so if I'm watching through their videos real quick, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it for free, okay? and I don't see anything really unique. I'm just kind of like, well, seems like a nice person. That's all I can really say about it. If sometimes people have sent me links to somebody that I have worked and I do not trust, and I could go into a list of reasons why, I'll just put, I know this person. I would not refer them, and I won't go any deeper than that, you know, because they may have changed. Everybody makes their mistakes. They may have changed, and I don't want to like take any chance of further change away from them. That's just not fair. So it's a juggling act. It's a real balancing act, and it's constantly under scrutiny and amendments. So, anyways, kind of a longer video than I planned. Guys, if you like any of my material and you think it could help anyone, share it, subscribe, like, all that. And I got this awesome environmental project I'm working on. I'm building my boat. You can always do a PayPal donation. Anything, no donation too small, at the PayPal. PayPal is Shaman Hawk, or Shaman Hawk at PayPal. Guys, if you like it, leave a comment, because your comments help me with the feedback. It lets me know where the wave of humanity is at that time, and it gives me more food for more videos to do. Thank you very much. Have a great day.